conversations are not easy. And what I don't want to happen is you're in your doctor's appointment and they're like, well, I'm going to schedule an induction. You're like, huh? Hey everyone, I'm Sarah Lavonne and welcome back to my YouTube channel. Inductions of labor have become more and more, I'm going to use the word popular over the last few years, /recommended, /used. They say that over a third of births will be recommended / will move forward into an induction of labor. And so I usually prep all of my clients that you should expect your provider to bring this up in conversation at some point in your pregnancy. Now, depending on the provider that you have, by provider, I mean doctor or midwife. Again, doctors are going to be probably more on the induction route, whereas midwives are typically kind of come from the perspective of like, let labor happen on its own. So depending on who you have as your provider. I do have a couple of induction videos. They're rather old, and I really break this down for you in the bundle birth class. But to sort of give you like the super nitty-gritty definition of what is an induction of labor, what that means is that you are not in labor, you are pregnant, you are hopefully term, 37 weeks and beyond, and ideally 39 weeks. And then you go to the hospital, not in labor, and we give you medications or other things to help stimulate your body to go into labor and ultimately result in hopefully a vaginal birth. Okay? And so I want to give you some questions that you should ask your provider, your doctor, your midwife, prior to your induction. Now, this to me is like arming you with the tools to have what you need to be able to navigate all of these conversations in the hospital system and your birth and really center you in the process, and then ultimately to help you get the information you need to make an informed choice. I feel like this needs to be like a series, informed choosing along the way and helping you to have these conversations, because these conversations are not easy. And what I don't want to happen is you're in your doctor's appointment and they're like, well, I'm going to schedule an induction. You're like, huh? What do you even mean? And so I want you to be prepared for this conversation. One, just be prepared that like it's probably going to come up, and there's certain reasons why it would come up. If you want that video, let me know. But then what do you ask in the case of like, do you have any questions? You're like, a million, but I don't know what they are. And so I'm going to help guide this conversation. The first question I want you to ask, if an induction is brought up by your doctor, is this considered an elective induction or is it a medically indicated induction? That is very, very different based on their answer. An elective induction means it's fully your choice. There is no medical reason that your doctor is recommending and saying it has now become less safe for you to stay pregnant and we got to move you towards that vaginal birth. It's fully elective. They may say that you have a big baby or I'm concerned about this and that. But what you want as an answer is this considered an elective induction or a medically indicated induction? If it is an elective induction, then there is no medical indication for the induction. In that case, this would not happen before 39 weeks. So if they're saying, I'm going to schedule you for your 39-week induction, your question is this an elective induction or is it medically indicated? Now, your cue is, I'm going to schedule you for a 39-week induction. That's when a lot of times those elective inductions happen. It's probably an elective induction. And in that case, you have a lot more flexibility, a lot more opportunity for conversation related to your choice, related to whether or not you feel like that's what you want for your birth experience, okay? Medically indicated, on the other hand, really means that your doctor has a concern. There is a medical reason that says we're now playing with some risk involved. And so what that means is that like your doctor has looked at your body and your baby and said, I'm concerned for this reason. Your baby's not growing like we expect, or you have a lot of amniotic fluid. Now, if they tell you that and you're like, okay, isn't amniotic fluid good? You want to ask the next question, which is, tell me why you're recommending this induction, right? And if they don't really give you a clear, it's an elective induction or a medical induction, or even if they give you one of those, I would still ask the question, why are you recommending this induction? That's going to open up a conversation for where their head's at, because you really do have an expert at your fingertips. They went to school for this. They've seen thousands of births. They're weighing risk. Their job is to help keep you safe. And you want to know, especially if you're going to refuse anything, you want to know that you're doing that without looking back and going, wait, I didn't have all that information. If I would have known how risky it was, I would have maybe made a different choice, right? And so that second question after, is it medically indicated or is it an elective induction, is why are you recommending this induction? And ideally, it's not, I feel like this. I do this for all my patients. I think it's a better experience for you. They're deciding your experience in that case. You get to decide if this is a better experience for you. And it is important that you understand what comes with an induction and what's the process, which I'm getting to. And I offer in the bundle birth class, and I have some other videos. I'll link them down below on all my induction stuff, okay? So ask them why they're recommending this induction. Now, if you continue the conversation and maybe it just becomes like, nah, I'm not interested, or I'm going to encourage you to have the full conversation. The next one is, what are my chances of a vaginal birth? Because while the research on this can be argued either way, it's pretty neutral related to an induction. And again, you can find research on either end. Anytime that you are forcing the body or you are stimulating the body to do something that it naturally would, I'm going to say likely, but like almost 100% of the time would do on its own, there is a risk that the induction doesn't work. We actually have a name for that. It's called a failed induction of labor. In that case, if they haven't broken your water, then you could go home. But once they've broken your water, no chance, right? And so we want to know, what are your chances? Because there is something called a Bishop score, and I will guide you to my Bishop score video to go watch that and learn all about a Bishop score. But based on that number, it's an objective assessment based on where your cervix is starting. Your doctor can give you an idea not only about your chances for a vaginal birth, but also how long it might take. And again, everything's very flex and flow. Like they could say, I think it'll be 24 hours and it be 6 or it be 4 days, like flex and flow on that. But there is some data that does help us with that assessment, okay? The other question I'd have you ask is, how long do you expect it to take? We want to start setting expectations, especially if you're starting to move that direction and maybe having that induction of labor. You want to say, like, what's going to happen, right? How long will you give me to labor, right? And what you want to hear is that as long as your baby's okay and there's no other complications, it takes as long as it takes, is really the goal answer in my mind for somebody that's going to be really supportive and give you adequate time. We know labor takes time. Inductions take extra amounts of time. And so we want to know that you have a supportive provider. Now, if your provider's kind of pushing you that direction and they're saying, well, at 24 hours, you'll have a C-section, that might weigh into your decision on, am I going to be induced or not? If I know I'm on the clock to 24 hours and I know my chance of a vaginal birth is slim, am I going to agree to an elective induction when I might be setting myself up for a C-section? Now, that's a very different conversation than you have a medical complication. They're saying your cervix is closed, and I'm going to give you time. So long as there's no other complications happening and we know that both of you are safe, labor takes time. Can you kind of feel out how those are very different? And then the last question that I would have you ask your provider if they're talking to you about an induction is, how would you induce me? Or what methods would you use or recommend for me in my specific circumstance? Are there any alternative options? How much choice do I have in the process? Because while yes, there's a ripening agent or even like a mechanical dilator, like a dilapam or a laminaria, which aren't used that much, but like those are potential early options. Foley balloon, Pitocin, breaking your water, those are really all we can do for you. But the exact mechanism, how you combine, what the flow is, combined with what your cervix is and what you might need, how they induce you is going to have some nuance. It's going to look a little different, and you want that specific information if you are considering agreeing to an induction of labor. Again, everything is your decision to make. Ultimately, I want you to say at the end of that conversation, I really believe if you ask all of these questions, you're going to walk away going, okay, I know what my options are. I know what the process is. I know that it's being medically recommended or not. And then you're either, and ideally, especially when you're agreeing to it, I want you to agree fully. to your induction. What's hard for me and I see as a barrier all the time, and it's a barrier that potentially sets you up for a C-section, okay? This is a big one, is that people are hesitant to the induction for whatever reason. They're like, okay, and then they approach their induction with like wanting a lot of control specific to the method of induction. There's a lot you can control, and I teach you that in all my classes, especially my coping with labor class, but even the bundle birth class and our VBAC class, and even in newborn safety and CPR. It's like, it's all about options and for you being able to determine what's important to you. But they go in holding tightly that like, I don't want Pitocin because I'm scared, or I definitely don't want that fully ballooned thing. And really, induction is sort of like a package deal. If you want to set yourself up for a successful induction, what that means is ultimately it resulting in a vaginal birth, and ideally that it doesn't take 3, 4, 5 days, which it can with an induction. Okay, then you sort of want to be open to the flow and open to all the options, because while we do have options, we actually have a limited number of options. There's about 4 things that we can do for you, and some of them become not an option based on things that happen in your labor, all right? Again, I know sometimes when I do some of these videos, it's like, whoa, there's a lot of dynamics playing in, and there's a lot to know. There's a lot to navigate. There's a lot to like be able to advocate for yourself with, and I know that that's uncomfortable because it's a new environment, right? And there's a little bit of hierarchy there with like doctor or nurse of like, you're the expert, right? But there are things that you can hold on to. Put together your birth preferences. If you need a template, I got that in our store too. Take a bundle birth class, and I will literally lay this all out for you so easily over there and give you scripts and help navigate these conversations so that whether you're induced or not, again, I will say induction is not bad or good. It's neither or, it's fully neutral. It is a tool to help you have that positive birth memory, which is one of my many goals for you. If you want more from me, obviously head on over to bundlebirth.com. Everything's in the show notes down below. Go ahead and check out down there. We have some really cool freebies. There's classes, whatever you need. We want to be a resource to you and help you sort of just settle. There's a lot of information out there to navigate, and I hope that when you come here, you're like, oh, thank God. Somebody who understands all the aspects and can kind of dull it down to be really manageable, and then ultimately help it become actionable for you as well. Make sure you subscribe, give it a like, share it with a friend, comment what you learned, what other things helped you navigate that. Did you have an induction? If you did, what was your experience? Drop that down below. And then until next time, don't forget to flex and flow, and I will see you soon. Bye. Suck it in. Hey guys, I'm Sarah Lavonne. Everyone, I'm Sarah Lavonne. It was a mid-sentence with that, and I don't remember the beginning of the sentence. Okay. Man, I need lunch or something. Where it's like a labor smoothie. We have to pitch it. Dates, castor oil, raspberry leaf tea base, pineapple. What's the topic?